Got the cops here because my neighbor has been shooting again, and the bullet fragments are ricocheting and flying through my trees. So, hi everybody, it's Jay on the Exo-Man channel. I just wanted to talk about something that happened a couple of hours ago that was kind of nerve-wracking. I'll show you some video. Check this out. I had my neighbor right through those woods right there. He lives kind of cat-a-corner, diagonal from me through that property. Not more than 150 yards. He started shooting this morning. A lot of people shoot out here in the country. Not a problem. We all exercise our rights. I'm happy that we have the right to do this. The problem is, this guy is a drunk, foolish redneck. Yeah. I have the pleasure of living next to not only a drunk, foolish redneck, but he is reputed as a guy who uses a lot of pills. He's hooked on prescription medicine, or prescription painkillers, and this is the known fact in my community. But this morning, I started hearing the shots, recognized where they were coming from. I came out, and they were... You can tell when a gun is being fired in your general direction versus a gun being fired in the distance at a safe mound away from homes and whatnot. It's a very directional sound. Well, not only was I hearing the sound being fired towards me, I was hearing bullets whizzing through the trees here and over through the air over here above my property. The last time this happened with this particular character, I went and confronted him because I know him. So I figured rather than calling the cops, I would go over there, and I was able to reason with him. It was not fun. This is a redneck, and he had 4 or 5 of his friends. They were all heavily armed, and they had pit bulls. Beautiful scene. So I jump out of my truck, hopping mad, confront the young man. He's in his maybe late 20s. He wasn't so much apologetic, but he was amenable and promised to shoot in a different and safer direction, and that he would create a wood pile and shoot it in the woods away from my or anybody's property nearby. Well, he seems to have forgotten that agreement. So I called the police after confronting him this time. He wasn't so amenable. I was mad. I was very verbal and very angry, and told him in no uncertain terms that he was threatening my family and my property. And he, of course, was denying and arguing with me, and I was insistent. And then his friend stepped up and said something. And that's when we got into this little sort of dance, because he realized that I'm sort of admonishing him, yelling at him, and then, because rightfully so, because he was threatening my life and property and my family. Well, when his friend got involved, then he realized that he should try to take control of the situation. So he got very angry and very aggressive with me. He took an aggressive stance and got very close to me. That's what I want to talk about. That's a very dangerous time for people. This is when decisions need to be made. Please feel free to comment. A lot of people would say, don't ever confront a person like that who's drunk or high on drugs and armed. I've learned in my life, I've done it both ways. I've cowered away from bullies as a child, and I've confronted them and gotten in fist fights and whatever. Who's to say what's appropriate and when? When this young man in this instance became angry and assertive and showed those signs and balling up his fists and coming chest out towards me in the wild, wide open eyes, I realized it was time to retreat. And he, having a Glock strapped to his hip, and I'm standing there angry, and my bare feet just jumped out of my truck on his property. Had to go around the back of his house because I had started screaming after this footage you're going to see. Screaming through the woods, issuing warnings for him to stop firing towards my house. Well, when I did that, he apparently ran and hid in his garage, and that's where I found him. I drove around the back of his house and walked up to the back of the house, yelling for him to come out. He came out armed, and so in that moment, with his fist balled up, ready to swing on me, an unarmed man, that's not something I want any part of. In fact, if he had swung and managed to hit me, I still would have backed up into my truck and driven away. I did have a gun in my truck, by the way, but not on my person. So, feel free to tell me your experiences if you've had anything like this, but I'm still in the middle of this. This is, this time I called the police. The police came out. They went and paid him a visit. They disarmed him momentarily. They took the gun and the weapon off of him and cleared it and talked to him. He denied everything but shooting. He said he wasn't shooting towards my house, but he was shooting. A neighbor has also called the police and said that their house was hit. So I don't know what's going to come of that. But I had nothing personally to report because I had no injury to myself or my property, and because of that, I couldn't issue a warrant. I couldn't call and ask for him to be picked up. So this is where it stands. Now the question is, next time it happens and I hear rounds coming towards my house, what would you do? Would you return fire? Would you call the police? Would you confront? I'm quite certain next time it happens I'm going to just quickly call the police because the kid knows where I stand. And I don't need to endanger myself any further. The only reason I didn't confront him in the first place is because I know him. I'm acquainted with him. He knows me. I figured I could go over there and reason with him. You can't reason with drunk people who are addicted to pain medication, who are hooked on some kind of pills or drugs. You learn quickly that you can't reason with those people. So there it stands. I've shown the police officer that responded the video that I have so he could hear the sound of the bullets whizzing overhead. Pay attention and you'll hear that. I turned the camera on after I heard about 3 or 4 bullets going through the trees, and what do you might think that's not very safe, but what am I to do? This is my home. This is where I live, and those bullets may or may not hit me. There's not much I can do about it except maybe hit the ground, but I wanted to get this as evidence. So tell me what you would do. Tell me how you would react to this and what your next step would be. I'm sure it's not the end of it. In fact, when the police left, they came and talked to me after they visited him, and after they were gone, I heard him fire one handgun. It sounded like a Glock out there as kind of to me. So not anything I want to have to deal with, but it is something that I have to deal with.